We have two problems. One is that we don't have enough jobs. And the second problem is that many of the jobs that we have aren't very good. The first, the unemployment issue, is dominating the presidential election. It's really a problem of lack of demand, and it's more of a temporary problem. The second problem, the low-quality jobs, is more of a structural problem. Well, it started in the mid-'70s, where globalization, technological change, deregulation of markets, the continued decline of unions, and an ideology of neoliberalism that basically said markets markets should be as flexible and free as possible, and that led to a decline in the quality of jobs as employers took the better jobs, the middle-level jobs, and offshored them. And so what we had is a polarization over the last 30 years. There are good jobs and there are bad jobs, but there's very little in the middle. What we need is a new social contract between labor and business and the government. And this social contract has three components, in my opinion. The first is we need to have greater economic security. We need to give people the ability to be able to survive without work, which in the U.S. would mean health insurance for all, unemployment benefits that are adequate, so to give them a sense of security. The second is we need to provide more active labor market policies to retrain people. When they lose their jobs, they need to be able to get new ones in a lifelong learning. And the third thing we need is more representation security, where people need to have more of a voice in how decisions are made in the economy. And if we can have those three things, I think those are the three pillars of a new social contract that would help create better jobs and more jobs. What's declined is the public sector, school teachers, firemen, policemen, these kinds of jobs that have been hurt by lack of budgets for the state and local governments. And so there needs to be government support for these kinds of jobs. We also need government jobs in infrastructure, construction. We've got a lot of bridges that are falling down and so on. So this kind of public sector investment is necessary. We also need to have banks and businesses start spending more money and investing again in creating more private sector jobs. Banks have a lot of capital that they're not lending. Part of that reason for that is the interest rates are very low, and so they don't make any money by lending. Businesses are keeping a lot of their money on the sidelines because they have an uncertain environment. So we need to create more certainty in the economy, and we need to create more. So it needs to be both a combination of private sector and public sector activities. We can't afford not to. The American economy is a very large one. We need to have schools, we need to invest in education, we need to keep people safe. This is not the time to cut back on investment. We need to make investments right now, and these investments will lead to greater economic growth, which should then lead to more job creation. What we can't afford is these tax cuts, these continued tax cuts, because that's not creating many jobs. We need revenue, but we also need to spend wisely.